bless our president and our elected officials. Tonight, we thank you for the NAACP and all the partners with her as they come tonight to inform and educate us. We pray for the president tonight, Yvette Lewis. You continue to bless her and strengthen her as she lead and guide and give direction to our community. Thank you for all of these candidates tonight who have put themselves out in the public domain. We pray that you will bless them in a very special way. And I pray above all, as they campaign, God, that they will be people of integrity, of honesty, and Lord, that they would not have to stoop to the lowest crevices of this earth, but run on their own standards and run on those convictions that they may have. So we thank you tonight for what you want to bless us together. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, let's get it ready. Bring that down. First of all, the housekeeper. Where's my timekeeper? Let me see your signs, timekeeper. Hey, Candace, watch your signs. Let's get them. And that's a, what is it, 15 seconds? Let's give them 15 seconds. One flash, and then we stop. Yellow is 15 seconds. Red is stop. You got 1 minute to answer the question, all right? We'll go right down the line to ask some questions. Got timekeeper. Where's my question box? We were going to have some questions. We got index cards for questions. Attorney Holland, can we relocate you in an appropriate area so people feel comfortable getting
I'm right here.
All right, got it. And she's going to read them too? All right.
She has cards to give out.
She has cards to give out. Write your questions up. The question will be vetted so there's no shenanigans going in here. We'll get it clean. And then Attorney Holland is going to make sure your question, if it's valid, we get a chance to ask it. All right? Everybody ready? Ready. All right, panelists, are we ready? All right, let's go down the list right quick. We have with us Stanley Gray. He is with the Urban League of Tampa.
Hillsborough County.
All right. We have Carl Davis with the esteemed Attorney of Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated Tampa Alumni Chapter. There we go. And listen, it wouldn't be right if you didn't have a member of the Tampa Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, Arthur Moore. And my class in the USA. All right, Mr. Gray, are you ready for the first question?
Yes. Yes, this question is being asked by Stanley Gray of the Urban League of Hillsborough County and also a member of Pi Iota, Omega Psi Phi Incorporated. I would like for you to share your position.
Can everybody hear Mr. Gray? Yes. Stand up.
I would like you to share your position on escalating penalties as they relate to penalties experienced by the disabled, poor, and individuals on fixed incomes, as well as returning citizens. Your position, please.
What was the first part of the question?
I would like to have your position on escalating penalties as they relate to disabled, poor, and individuals who are returning citizens. Do you know what escalating penalties are?
I have not.
Escalating penalties are, let me give you an example. Let's say that I have committed a crime and I'm incarcerated in either a state or a federal institution because I have child support payments. Those penalties are accruing. And when I come out, I have to pay everything in the arrears. Or, let's just say that I have court penalties. And in certain counties, they're not only accruing, but they're gaining additional penalties. I want to know, as a politician, what is your position on those that issue?
The accruing of these penalties while you're incarcerated, once you've served your time, I believe that you should be able to have pretty much a clean slate. There was no way for you to pay that while you were incarcerated. I'm a retired police officer. Time and time again, I've seen people penalized for things later on have been completely dismissed, such a case of domestic violence that wasn't prosecuted because of lack of evidence or somebody changed their opinion. Once again, those penalties, I had never heard it phrased like that, so I was at a bit of a loss when you asked the question. But I believe that the basics of that is a clean slate if you paid your penalty for being incarcerated.
Yeah, I too agree that I believe that if the system says that if you go to prison
and the punishment is X amount of years, that at that point you have done what society has asked you as repentance for your crimes. And if you come out and have continued escalation of penalties, then you continue to be a burden on society and have to depend on the system even more rather than producing and being part of your community.
All right, thank you very much. Next question, Mr. Davis, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. What strategy do you plan to implement for the Board of County Commission? Can you tell me more about where your strategy comes from?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Joshua Wustel. I'm running for Board of County Commissioner, District 7, countywide. I am running on a platform purely of financial transparency and accountability. Specifically, when you see every budget reconciliation meeting beginning saying that the county is broke, that the roads are turning to dust, and that we must take more money from your family's bank accounts, but then simultaneously end with them conveniently finding upwards of $30 million of slush in the budget for their pet projects, it makes me concerned that either we're broke or we're not broke. And I believe that we can leverage the power of this $14 million Oracle ERP system that all of you ladies and gentlemen bought over the last several years, and really use modern day technology to bring that solution for you to understand if your money is working for you or if your money is working against you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that question. All right, next question from.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chase Harrison. I'm running for Hillsborough County District 7. I'm a Republican, and I'm on the ticket against Mr. Walston here. The question was, what are we planning to do for the county? Number one, I would like to see some assistance to the inner city. I work in these areas as a police officer, and I know about food deserts, and they do exist in these areas. I want to work in partnership with grocery stores who have done outstanding as far as making profit, and some of that needs to be returned to the neighborhoods. They're going to put a 1% sales tax hike on the ballot. We're going to vote on ourselves to increase our sales tax for transportation. If anyone here has ever used public transportation to go grocery shopping, you know it's impossible. You can't go grocery shopping on a bus. It doesn't pick you up at your house. It doesn't bring you back to your house, much less if you have a child with you. So I'm going to get these grocery stores, put a little meat in the game, and maybe let's have something looks like a motorhome that's going to come to a local church parking lot where they can use their EBTs. People who are on public assistance need help in these inner city areas.
All right, now, next question. Mrs. Margie Moore, go right ahead.
First of all, we want to thank and First of all, we would like to thank and applaud you for your willingness to serve. What do you see as the top 3 priorities for Hillsborough County for the immediate future?
The top priority, as we already pointed out, is budgetary issues for this county. The county has over $7 billion of a budget. At any given time, I don't believe they even know where it all is. Once elected, I'm going to make sure we do a deep internal audit to find out where our and your money is in this county. We're going to go through the departments. We're going to go through the departments, and we're going to figure out where the duplicity is within these places, where there's more than one project being tackled by 2 different directions. We're going to find out how many people that go to work for the county ever lose their jobs. Because it seems like when someone gets in trouble, they just hide them in a different department. Another issue is the school board. I don't have anything to do with the school board, but the county commissioners approved and put on the ballot next month a millage rate increase on anyone that owns property. My neighbor says I rent. It's not going to affect me. Well, guess what? You're the one paying it if you rent, because the owner of the property isn't going to make it. He's not going to pay it. He's going to put it into your rent. Let's talk for a second about affordable housing. I got 15 seconds. Affordable housing. It is a problem. But we live in a capitalistic society, but at the same time, we need to help those who need help. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that the biggest priority for this county is to put a halt to a new $19 billion of taxes that are coming down the pipeline for your families. After that, I think that you need to end some of the spending that goes to things like $50 million ferries that will alleviate almost no real traffic or problem in the county. After that, you need to make sure, finally third, is that the money that's being rolled into the $6.5 billion almost CIP budget, which is external than the annual budget, that money starts to be released and making sure that it's going directly to the infrastructure improvement areas that we were taxed for in the first place, and it not being used to hedge and leverage for the future in the hopes of getting this new $19 billion tax. Those are the things that will help us alleviate our weekly, monthly expenses in Hillsborough County.
All right, let's go back down the line. Arthur, the next question.
So you all mentioned criminal justice, which we know is disparate among certain communities of color. What steps do you think we should take to address the issue of police brutality against these communities of color and marginalized communities?
Yeah, I want to be honest. I am endorsed by the Tampa Police Benevolence Association. I do believe in a healthy law enforcement that protects your communities, whether if it's walking to school or walking to the grocery store. I've reviewed the statistics in Hillsborough County. Crime rates have pretty much stayed even and on a downward trend countywide the last 20 years. I can't speak specifically to the city of Tampa. As I said, I'm running countywide Hillsborough, but I can say that number of crime has gone down. I'm not really sure what the exact statistic is about what police brutality has occurred within the Tampa City Police Department, and that's not something that I'm willing to speak to.
Well, first off, any police brutality is absolutely unnecessary and it's wrong. With that being said, I am a retired police officer and I've worked these neighborhoods for many years in East Tampa, West Tampa. I even worked in Davis Island a few years. And what I've seen, the police department, we're pretty tough on our own people. I know some people don't agree with that, but it's true. And I think, and it's a saying that's said, and people get where they don't think it's very effective, that the cops, the main thing they hate is a bad cop. Because we work very hard to get the respect that we get and work with people who we work with, and the job that we do to allow a couple of bad apples to spoil everything. If the officer is accused and absolutely he is convinced that he has committed a police brutality act, he or she should be held accountable. And I believe there's plenty of programs in place to make sure those checks and balances are there to take care of it.
Next, Mr. Davis, what's your question?
Good afternoon. Again, based on the problems you guys just addressed, how might someone from a completely different culture view the problem or solution?
I know historically when law enforcement was basically all white people, and they started hiring black people, there were in places policies where black people were not allowed to police white people. And I believe for the future, that cannot be the case in the opposite direction. There's been rumors, or not rumors, I shouldn't say that. There have been suggestions that only black officers patrol black neighborhoods. And I don't think that's right. If you have professional law enforcement officials, they should be able to police any and all of the community.
Yeah, I think that everyone in the room is aware of the statistics and the variances between cops, arrests, one specific culture more than another, and what those crimes are. And I know that there's a lot of debate about it. Obviously, it shouldn't happen. Again, though, in the city of Tampa and in Hillsborough County Sheriffs, I am not aware of that being an issue. I know many of our law enforcement throughout the community. I can see that when you read those statistics or hear it on a news station, that somebody from a different culture would appear to see that completely different from my culture. I understand that that could be an issue and that we need to do a better job of seeing it from other people's positions and points of view.
Okay, and to our third council question, Mr. Secretary.
How do you feel diversity and inclusion efforts should be judged and utilized as they relate to financial contracts executed by the county?
I do believe that they need to be spread out, but also at the same time, I am very nervous of these initiatives going and the pendulum swinging the other way instead of us landing in a middle happy ground with one another. Because I don't want to take one problem and then that ultimately in a decade turn into another problem. I do believe in certain areas where they experience economic growth, that if there's those local contractors that have been in the community and meet the criteria, that they should get first bid of those contracts, especially in the areas of East Tampa that have struggled to see economic development and growth.
As far as the minority-based contracts, I think there has to be some equity there. If it's small businesses, I think they need to be moved to the front of the line. As far as diversity and inclusion, I'm the only candidate running, and my website's not just in English in this county. This county is very diverse. My website's in English, it's in Spanish, Arabic, and Vietnamese, which is the top 4 languages in this county. So I'll talk to you about inclusion and diversity if you want. I've also been endorsed by the Muslim community, Muslims for Democracy and Fairness. I got their endorsement last week, and I'm proud of that endorsement. It shows that I'm able to communicate with these other cultures within our own society. And once again, to answer your question, there should be some set-asides for small businesses and small minority groups.
All right, we have one question from the floor. Attorney Charles Holloman, can we get that question real quick, and then we'll go to both of our candidates.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your participation. Question from the audience. How does who you are show up in the work that you do?
How does who you are show up in the work you do? About 3 months ago, I met a young man named Brother Idris Muhammad. He works with an organization that helps inner city young black men develop into good, strong men of character. He's trying to make sure that they can try to break that cycle of the high school to prison issue that seems to exist. I'm a professional pilot, and I have a lot of friends in aviation. There's a lot of problems in aviation right now. There's a shortage of mechanics and air crews and pilots. So I set them up, this group of 12 of these kids, and took them to a local airport where they met minorities that are working on aircraft, flying airplanes, and operating the airport. So that's the purpose and stuff that I do to show who I am as an individual.
Yeah, I'm someone that's completely committed to integrity. As you've heard today and any other event I go to, I will always tell you my honest answer. I won't tell you an answer that I think you want to hear so I can get your vote. I'm always committed to excellence, and when I say that I am good at focusing on budgets and reducing that because it will be the most meaningful improvement to your family's life, I have a long past of doing that in the military, doing that in the corporate world, and doing that in the daily life of my successful small business. You will get from me exactly what I say I will do for you, and that is nonstop work to figure out what's going on with your money in Hillsborough County. I can do it, I've done it in the past, and I will do it for you in the future.
All right, let's give these candidates and these panelists a round of applause as we move to the next panel. You know, winning for office takes a lot of hard work. It is something that you cannot take lightly, and so we're always thankful when candidates take the time to show up here, even when they do not have an opponent in a race. And so this evening we have Kimberly Overman. Where's Kimberly at? I saw she was up there earlier. Hope she didn't leave. Whoa. So I better grab the parking lot. All right, so we just want to recognize her for coming out and supporting the event. Okay, we just want to make sure we recognize her. Unfortunately, we don't have time to, spend, let's give her a round of applause, everybody, for coming out and supporting the event. Well, here's one thing. Right now, she's unopposed in the primary, correct? But in general, we need everybody to show up and think about your votes and vote for whoever you think is most qualified. Thank you very much for coming out. We appreciate it very much. All right, that's not all, everybody. The surprises continue. We also have one of our candidates for Attorney General here with us. Drove in specifically for this event. Again, does not have somebody on the ballot here tonight with us. So we want to give her a chance to speak and say why she thinks she should be the next Attorney General. Please welcome Aramis Ayala, our former state attorney in Orlando, and Houston High Professor.
All right, they gave me a couple minutes. I want to appreciate. Thank you very much for that. My name is Aramis Ayala. I'm running to be the next Attorney General for the state of Florida. I'm running for 3 reasons, and the 3 reasons are going to impact you all. The first one is our constitutional rights. I have fought for constitutional rights as an assistant public defender long before we just needed them to protect our bodies, to protect the rest of our lives, who we love. I'm also running to make certain that we have real public safety. People pretend that it's public safety when we're talking about the mass incarceration of Black people, Hispanics, and others, but the public safety is keeping guns out of schools. Public safety is making sure you're safe on your job. We saw that with frontline workers. And the third reason that I'm also running is to create an economy that works for everybody. There are people who started complaining about gas prices, but many of us knew that there was an issue with the economy long before gas prices started increasing. These are the reasons that I'm running. I am the only candidate in this race who has the experience of being an elected state attorney. I've served my family, I have served my profession, I have served my community, and now I'm ready to serve the state of Florida.
Everybody all right? You pulling off in here? All right, I was a little nervous. This is my first time being here. I'm not from Tampa, but I live here. And when I saw all these people, I was like, okay, where's the minister? Where's the bishop? But everybody's being well behaved, so we appreciate you and being flexible. Right now, we're going to bring up the School District 6. We're going to bring up Rashawn Gendrick, Alicia Lay. All right, and Karen Perez. And for our panelists, I need to get all of this right. I'm not Greek, y'all, so if I say something wrong, charge it to my heart, okay? All right, Mrs. Monique Slater, First Vice President of Gamma Theta Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Mr. Charles Hanson of Alpha Phi Alpha. And Ms. Kimberly Williams, Social Action Chair of Tampa Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. All right, so we're going to get started. We're just going to kind of go down the line, and we'll start here. Thank you so much. I'll stand up to make sure you guys hear me. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. My question is in the bucket of educational disparities and inequities and inequalities. I'd like to know what educational disparities and inequities, inequalities, do you feel your district needs to address? And if you could also share some solutions that you would recommend as well.
Hi, my name is Alicia Legg, also known as Allie, and I'm running for countywide school board. And the inequities and the inequalities in education that our county is experiencing right now, I would say is in reading and math, mostly. And a lot of, I think the way that we can approach this would be to actually speak to the parents, the students, and the teachers that are in the schools, and not to figure out what they're seeing, how they're seeing it, and what we can do collectively, solutionary, to come up with some proper ideas on how to address those. But also, we can't just expect a board member to have all of the answers, and we can't just expect administrators to have all the answers. We have to speak to everybody that is involved in order to properly attack and address these issues.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
All right.
My name is Rashawn Gendrick. I'm running for school board, District 6, countywide. I have 20 years of public school education experience, a bachelor's in education,
a master's degree in educational administration. You talked about educational disparities, and for me, this is a personal issue. I worked in Title I schools my entire career. Many of our students, the number one issue of disparity is literacy. We have over 10,000 students in this school district that cannot read in third grade. What are those students going to do when they get to fourth grade? What are those students going to do when they get to fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade? That is an issue that we need to address. Number one. Two, the school-to-prison pipeline is a huge issue. And then number three issue is the first day that I'm elected and I sit on the school board, I will set up an African-American task force specifically for academic achievement, specifically, and have the board report back monthly at the board meetings on the progress. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Flynn. So, what I have done to address this issue is for the first time in Hillsborough County Schools history, we're now conducting a survey to see how many of our children are bused from one side of the county to the other. Now, what happens is when our children are bused from one side of the county to the other, they're losing quality education time. Some of our children are on the bus for 2 hours going and 2 hours coming. And they're not going to their schools in their neighborhood. What is happening is that our children are getting they're occupying seats in their counterparts' schools. And so they don't have the access to tutoring in their schools. Their parents don't have access to their is my time up? Okay. I'll come back.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for coming in. My name is Sean Houston. I'm a proud member of Mountain Clown Activity Incorporated. But as you'll look out and see, our babies are here. I have an 11-year-old, a soon-to-be 8-year-old, and 6-year-old twins that are here as well. Recently, our government passed the Stop the Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act, also known as the Stop Woke Act, which many feel will affect education because according to the NAACP, ACLU, and other civil rights groups, this dangerous law is part of a nationwide trend to whitewash history and chill free speech in classrooms and workplaces. It will infringe on teachers and employers' First Amendment rights and chill their ability to use concepts like systemic racism and gender discrimination to teach about and discuss important American history. What do you think our district can and should do to counterbalance the negative effects of this legislation?
I feel that we need to write policy, which I have, me and the superintendent have set down because our largest population and our students here in Hillsborough County are Latino and Black students. And we wrote policy in order to protect our students here in Hillsborough County. And their education will go on. And Stop Woke Act will not happen here in Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think it's really important that we don't take our eyes off of educational issues. As a school board member, I will make sure that our focus remains on literacy and classroom issues. We will not get distracted by these other things that are coming out. We will make sure that our Black boys can read. Our Black boys in the system are doing the worst of any other subgroup. Look, I was a teacher for 20 years. I taught Black students, brown students, LGBTQ students. I taught a variety of at-risk students, immigrant students. I will make sure that our focus remains on the classroom, and any policies coming from anywhere We will make sure that it goes back to the classroom, and we will teach American history, not just slavery. We're going to teach about Black inventions. We need to teach about the positive things that African Americans have done in the community.
We do need to make sure that our children are learning all of American history, no matter how ugly it is. That is first and foremost. I have 5 children, and we are multicultural. So I think that is very important that we protect our history as much as we possibly can. But we also need to make sure that none of our children feel separate from each other. We need to lean on each other more than any other time than now. The 2020 and beyond on has been very rough for our children and for our families. And we need to make sure that we're all sticking together and making sure that they are learning the basics they need in order to be successful in life after school and not divisive.
Thank you for your participation. What do you plan to do to ensure that all students in Hillsborough County can receive the same quality education regardless of where they reside, whether it's in an affluent zip code or a marginalized zip code?
Thank you for that question. One of the things that I've seen over my 20 years in public education, that we know, let's just call it what it is. And I've heard from many parents, I'm among friends, we're going to call it like it is. You go to schools, you're not going to get a good education here in Hillsborough. You go to other schools that are not so good, no one wants to go there. Nobody wants to talk about that. My goal is to make sure that we have a quality school in every zip code. We've had 4 years to try to get quality schools in every zip code, and we have not done that. To make sure and hold the board and the superintendent accountable to make sure that our Black students are having success and we have a quality school in every zip code.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but we've had over 80 years of educational experience on our board currently, and we have the same issues we've had for the last 10 years. What has all of this educational experience done for the children of Hillsborough County that are struggling, especially in our inner cities? Exactly, nothing. We have over 303 different schools, which means we have over 303 different sets of teachers and 303 different ways of doing things. We need to make sure that we are speaking to everyone that is involved, administration, teachers, parents, and students, to make sure that everybody has a say in their education and what they're actually getting, what their needs are, so that we can make sure that the resources that we have are properly allocated to the schools that need them the most. We can't just keep throwing money at a problem. We have to be solutionary, and the only way we can do that is working collectively together in order to come up with solutions for everybody to make sure that our students are properly educated.
So let's talk working collectively. So I'm going to give you an example. $198 million was provided to our charter schools for maintenance. $11 million was provided to your public schools. So working collectively is by electing officials in the Senate, Congress, and House of Representatives that's going to support our children, our schools, and when we make decisions that we won't get imposed fines because we vote against charter schools who are taking our money. Thank you.
Hillsborough County School District is experiencing what they call the Great Resignation, or the Great Exodus. What should be done to ensure that we recruit quality educators and retain those same good educators that are here?
Well, first of all, when you have a superintendent that fires over 1,000 people, and now we all complain that we have 900 vacancies, that's a problem. And the way that we maintain and recruit more teachers, right, is we have to make sure that we pay them properly. But that pay cannot be contingent on a renewable tax. We cannot have our teachers tax themselves in order for them to get a raise. It's rude and it's disrespectful, especially after the last 3 years and all of the trauma and all of the trouble that they have been through and all of the weight that has been put on their shoulders trying to be psychologists and parents and teachers and this and that. They went to school to teach. They are in our classrooms to teach our children. That is what they need to do. Without our teachers, our kids don't have an education, right? So we need to make sure that they are valued mostly. But also, I would like to see a teacher apprenticeship program, a robust teacher apprenticeship program while it's in our schools so we can create the next generation of teachers so that we don't have to constantly do all of the taxing increase and things like that.
Thank you for the question. As the only educator in District 6, I'm the only educator in District 6 that's actually running. I have 20 years of public school experience in public schools. As a teacher, how many teachers do we have here today? How many teachers? And we have a few teachers here. I taught first grade, second grade, third grade, fifth grade. I taught middle school math and science, high school government and U.S. history. For a teacher, it's not only just about the money. Teachers don't just get in it to make money, but they do need to be well compensated. One of the proposals that I'm proposing to fix this problem, to help fix this problem, is let's bring back tenure to our public schools here in Hillsborough. Let's work with the legislature to bring back tenure so our teachers have job security. I worked in schools where you had tenure, and you may not be able to pay the most, but when teachers have job security, they feel appreciated.
We have a lot of money that's put out in contracts that we need to really tighten up our fiscal budget and put that money towards teacher pay, just period, and move that money back towards our budget for our teachers to give them consistent pay raises. We have a national teacher shortage, but it's not giving military wives a certificate to teach. Let me say that. It's respecting the teachers and the professions and ensuring that our children have a certified teacher in the classroom teaching our children.
Again, thank you all. Is arming our teachers the nation's best response?
As an LCSW, a mental health professional, and one who just got on a national call with a mental health professional from Uvalde, the answer will always be no. And I voted also no for arming our teachers here. My answer and my vote will always be no.
I agree with Karen. I don't think that arming the teachers is the way to go. I think one of the things that Palm Beach County did is, and something that I think Hillsborough County needs to do, is each teacher has a badge that has a panic button. Palm Beach County just instituted this, where teachers with their badge have a panic button. Teachers need to feel safe. I was a teacher, and we were always taught, lock our doors. We had drills. So we need to look at safety, and I would be in favor of a panic button and any other additional measures to keep our students safe.
Personally, how many of you know, how do we protect our politicians? With armed guards. How do we protect our president? With armed guards. Every time you go to a sports center or to any kind of complex where we're watching professional athletes play sports, how many times do you have to go through a metal detector? How many armed guards are there? Our children are our most important asset, and we have one resource officer to handle 2,400 students. That doesn't make any sense. When I was going to school board meetings trying to express my concerns about my children's education, we had more resource officers at a school board meeting for 7 school board members than we did in any of our schools. I'm prior military. 1 resource officer for 24 individuals does not work. So if teachers would like to carry, I support that. If they don't, that's fine. They have that option. But we need to make sure we are protecting our children at the most, because they are the most important, but we need to protect them at all costs.
All right, now let's hold it together. I know it's getting a little deep, but let's hold it together. All right? Okay, we're gonna follow that. So I want to look at the academic programs and offerings in our school district. So, what issues do you believe your district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings, and what changes would you recommend in those cases?
Well, one of the issues that I think that's important, the programs, is literacy. Someone asked me the other day, what are my top 3 priorities when I'm elected to the school board? Literacy, literacy, literacy. If our students cannot read, vocational schools do not matter. Nothing else matters. If we don't get back to reading, our black boys, do the research, are doing the worst. And we have a lot of black students in our district that cannot read. And I know Karen talks about how we made a lot of improvements in our school district. But who are those improvements aimed at? Who's improving in the school district? It is certainly not our black boys. It is certainly not our black students. We need to get the focus on our black students, especially our black boys being able to read. It is so important and it is so critical, and that will be issue 1, 2, and 3. And I will not settle for any excuses as to why we can't read, when our students are not reading.
We need more workforce development. Our children need to know how to work with their hands if they're not going to go to college. Most of our students, or some of our students are not going to go to college. They need to have different pathways, especially for our special needs children. We have to make sure that we are paving the way for them in order for them to be good products of our society, good contributors to our society. Workforce development is a huge lack in our schools, and we need to improve on that, absolutely. And I will do my very best to work with every single community leader and community in our county in order for us to improve on our workforce development, because entrepreneurship is huge, and our country cannot survive without small businesses. So
when our babies start dropping out of school at about 16 years old, that's around middle school. So for us to put in the middle schools, especially the apprenticeship programs, to capture those children, to show them that they don't have to go to college, but especially in the middle schools, because then we've captured them there. We've got their attention, and then on to high school, where they get their apprenticeship a little bit more solidified and moved on into those apprenticeship programs that we have for them once they're out in the community.
All right, now each candidate gets 30 seconds for a closing statement. Excuse me, we have a question from the floor.
Candidates, question from the audience. What are your thoughts on critical race theory for instant empire?
So, I've gotten this question several times. And we hear that it's not being taught in our schools, right? So if it's not being taught in our schools, then it has absolutely no reason to be in our schools, so it shouldn't be a conversation. topic, right? If there's a law that came out saying that we shouldn't have CRT in our schools, and if it's already not being taught in our schools, then there should be no reason why we shouldn't create a policy, which is quite literally the job of a school board member, to codify that law. And if that's just how I feel about that. So any other questions, feel free to reach out. My number is 813-699-0695.
I've said before, and I've said numerous times, that I think that we need to teach a full history, which includes slavery, but also includes many of the inventions of African Americans. I will be against anything that takes anything away from classroom instruction. We need to teach a full American history regarding all aspects of American history.
Well, since nobody up here will say it, we don't teach CRT in our schools. Okay? We don't teach it. It's a college course, upper level in college. We do not teach CRT in Hillsborough County schools nowhere.
Candidates, on June 9th, the Florida legislature passed a bill granting approval for former and present members of the military to teach in classrooms. Question from the audience. What is your opinion on recent legislation that allows veterans and their spouses to teach without education credentials on a temporary certificate?
I feel our babies need teachers in the classrooms that are certified. I feel our babies need teachers in the classrooms that have the backing and the knowledge to teach them. I feel our babies need teachers in the classrooms who know what they're doing and are able to lift them and teach them and give them the foundation that they need in education.
As a former teacher of 20 years, I think it's important that we have certified teachers in our classrooms. So I believe that it's important that we have certified teachers, but the issue is we have a shortage. We need to do something about it. And they have not, and here in Hillsborough County and our school board, they have not addressed this issue, so we have to do something about it. So I'm open to any idea to make sure we have certified teachers in our classroom.
Our military are very well educated, and in most times when you are in the service, you go through several different classes that equate to college, right? And it's difficult, especially when you come out of the military, to transition from military service to civilian service. When you read the law, it says that you have to be able to pass the bachelorette test in order for you to qualify for this certificate. And I believe that that is appropriate. While they're on waiting to get the teaching certificate, I believe that this would expand some resources for our much needed teacher shortage, but I also believe it gives our veterans that are struggling to find work outside of the military into the civilian sector an opportunity to do that as well when they have a heart and passion for education and our children.
Each candidate now has 30 seconds to close the remarks.
All right, so my name is Alicia Alley Legg, and I am a parent. I'm a parent of 5 children, and a parent is a child's first educator. We teach them literally everything they need to know throughout their entire lives. And I am dedicated to integrity, and I am dedicated to our children, and I want to bring our education back to basics. Our babies need better. We deserve better as teachers and as citizens of Hillsborough County, and I aim to do that, bring that.
My name is Roshan Jindret. I'm running for District 6 countywide. As I mentioned before, 20 years of public school experience, Bachelor of Arts in Education, Master's degree in Educational Administration. And my question is simply this. If you think that our schools are going in the right direction, I think you should vote for Karen. If you think the schools are going in the right direction and our African American students are doing a great job, she's the vote for you. If you think we need change, we need new leadership, we need to get tired of the status quo, I am the man for this job.
I'm Karen Perez. I'm your current school board member, and our schools right now have come up, I don't know if you've seen it, their grades are doing great. But I'm running for re-election. I'm a mental health professional, and I would like your vote. I want to continue serving and helping my children.
Thank you so much. You heard everything that they had to say. You see what's at stake. You hear the importance. I'm not up here to tell you who to vote for, but please get out there and vote. This is a very important election, and we know what is at stake, so please make sure you get out there and vote. Also, there are straw polls, so please make sure that you're participating. It's somewhere back here, and if you have an opportunity, please make sure that you fill it out so that we can make sure that we are collecting them.
Okay, as you all just realized, one of the most impactful things in our society is that third branch of government that oftentimes we don't pay attention to. It is the judiciary. And we would be remiss if we didn't give not only you all just a refresher on how the judiciary works and some of the roles that judges play, as well as get you all the opportunity to introduce to some of the candidates who are running for the local judiciary in Hillsborough County. So, to do that, we have none other than one of our own famous Williams sisters, Erica Williams, from the Tampa Alumni Chapter of Douglas, Savannah, and she is going to come up and give you an overview of the local justice.
Show me my bio, so you're going to read that over there, so please do not. So first, give yourselves a round of applause for being here on Monday evening. Again, as Quinn said, my name is Erica Williams. I am a local attorney. I'm a member of the Georgia National Bar Association, and I'm also the co-chair of the Social Action Committee for the Tampa Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Judges play a critical role. It goes without saying. They make so many decisions that impact our daily lives, whether you realize it or not, from finalizing divorces to finalizing adoptions, granting property rights and things of that sort, sentencing criminal defendants. So the range is wide, and it's important that we know who is sitting on the bench, who can make these decisions that impact us. It's important that we have a fair judiciary, judges who will review the law, apply the law equally across the board without regard to race, zip code, financial status, family connections. So the judges here, the candidates here tonight are going to come and introduce themselves to you. We have 3 races on the ballot. We have 3 judicial races on the ballot. If you have your sample ballot with you, do not skip the judges. They're right after the county commissioners and right before the school board. So make sure you circle those boxes, fill in those boxes, or fill in those bubbles. We have for county court, and actually I'll just go ahead and explain the distinction between county court and circuit court. You'll have 1 county court race and 2 circuit court races. The county court judges, they hear disputes of less than $30,000. County court is usually referred to as a people's court, so traffic court, what we typically think of as small claims matter. The circuit court, they hear matters involving more than $30,000, criminal felonies, juvenile cases, property disputes, and then appeals from the county court. The circuit court is the highest trial court in the state of Florida. So the candidates for county court, group 14, and if you are here, please come forward. All the candidates were invited to participate this evening. Okay. So so circuit court judge, group 6, we have Wesley Tibbles, who is the incumbent. For group 37, circuit court judge, we have Nancy Jacobs. For county court judge, group 14, we have Lynette Starr Brookins. County Court Judge, Group 14, we have Mike Isaac. For that same seat, we have Alicia Ryden Bosich. And finally, for that same seat, County Court Judge, Group 14, we have Melissa Black. And they will not take questions, they will introduce themselves, and I will start here with Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Appreciate it. My name is Wesley Tibbles. I've been a circuit judge for the last 7 years. I have sat in the family law division over the last 7 years. And being in the family law division was initially an assignment for me, and now it is a choice for me to stay in the family law division. I've enjoyed it. I enjoy staying in the family law division because I think it's an area where, based on my background and my service to the community, where I have the most opportunity to assist families in going through what for most of them will be a crisis situation, a divorce, a custody dispute, temporary custody by a grandparent, those sort of things. And I feel like that is an area where I am able to continue my service in the community. I'm a volunteer coach over at Plant High School right now. Please don't boo. I know we play Middleton this year. So I know that's coming back around. And I volunteer as a flag football coach, a baseball coach, a basketball coach. All of those different things gave me a perspective on how I am able to and what kids need and what their parents need to hear when they're going through this crisis situation. So I have enjoyed that opportunity. I've continued to stay in the family law division. And I will take any questions that you might have afterwards. I'll be over at my booth and I'll hang around for a little bit. Just as an FYI, there are significant limitations on what we're allowed to say, but I will do my best to answer the questions that you provide. Thank you all very much. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you all being here and learning more about the judges, because the judges are the people who elect representatives. The judges you get to vote for are the people that are sitting across the table helping you through that crisis situation and making significant decisions in your life, and you get to vote for them and you get to look them in the eye when you come to court. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nancy Jacobs, and I am running to be your next Circuit Court Judge in Group 37. I've been an attorney for 37 years in Hillsborough County, and during those 37 years, I have practiced first as a prosecutor for 8 years, and then I opened my own practice, practicing in the areas of criminal defense and family law. And as an integral part of that practice is my pro bono work that I do for active military veterans and their families, to the tune of about 200 hours a year for the last 29 years. That's the time I've had my private practice. And I receive every year of those years that they've been giving me recognition from the Supreme Court, what's called a gold letter, for those pro bono hours. And those hours go towards helping veterans stay out of jail some of the time, going into programs, mental health programs, substance abuse programs. Sometimes it's with their kids who get in trouble and they're in juvenile court and they're defended by me. Sometimes it's just writing a will. But in any case, that's an integral part of the practice. And I'm also a community member, a community service member. I devote my time, in addition to what I mentioned about the pro bono, I do a lot of work with the SPCA and with Humane Society of Tampa Bay, Epilepsy Foundation. There are a lot of different areas, and you can get my information. I might be able to see the other areas where I devote my time as well, and where I'm asked as well, in addition to that. But the reason I'm running is because of the Constitution. I'm all about the Constitution and making sure that everybody that comes into my courtroom is treated with respect, with dignity, with kindness, and that the laws apply fairly to everyone that comes into the courtroom. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what your station in life is. The law, the Constitution is for everyone. Everyone in this room and everyone outside. Everybody deserves rights under the Constitution. And the job of a judge is to make sure that they listen to the facts that are presented to them and apply the laws, the Constitution, to those facts and reach a fair decision under those facts. And again, no matter who you are, who's in front of them, everybody gets the same rights and the same fairness. So please vote for me on August 23rd or before.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynette Starbrookins, and I'm running to be your next Hillsborough County Clerk. I am the most qualified candidate and the most well-balanced candidate, and I think a lot of the endorsements that I've received so far speak to that, including the Tampa Bay Times endorsement. If you have not read it yet, please read it. They have vetted, they have triple-checked everyone. And they chose me to serve as your next county court judge. They recommended me. I have been in this community for over 2 decades, so y'all know me. I'm a proud member of the Divine Nine. Hey, sorority. Hey. But I've also been involved in other organizations. I have a long-standing history of excelling in the courtroom, inspiring in the classroom as a teacher, and effectuating real change right here in my hometown of Tampa Bay. So I really look forward to getting to know y'all better. I look forward to y'all's support. I have a lot of great endorsements, but the most important endorsement is the one of every single one of you that's here today. So I really appreciate that, your vote, and for spreading the word. If you'd like to learn more, votebrookensforjudge.com, and I'll be right over there with my mom. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Isaac. I'm running for Hillsborough County Court Judge, Group 14. Retired coach John Wood, one of his famous quotes is, "The true measure of a man's character is what he does when no one is watching." I came into East Tampa in 2017 and ran for judge. I did not win, but I've never left. Since November of 2018 until April of 2022, I've been in East Tampa. When no one was watching, I wasn't a candidate. I've been in East Tampa. I've supported the Black Business Trust over and over and over. I still come to teen conversation. I support children with a vision. East Tampa children who need school supplies at the beginning of the year. East Tampa children who need a safe place to trick or treat. East Tampa residents who need to be fed during Thanksgiving. Grandmothers from East Tampa who need to be celebrated on Valentine's Day. When I wasn't a candidate, nobody was watching, I supported Joshua House, Front for Christ. And when it was discovered that hundreds of African American souls, their graves were desecrated, I didn't wait for Yvette Lewis to call me. I picked up the phone and I called Yvette. I was offended. And I offered my services pro bono because that was the right thing to do. Over and over and over, every time I've been tasked with either being selfish or selfless, I've made the right choice, and I've demonstrated through my actions that I have a true and sincere empathy for East Tampa. When Pastor Elvis Piggott calls me and says, "I have someone in East Tampa that needs you but can't afford you," I took the case. When Michelle Williams called me and said, "I have someone who needs you, can't afford you," I took the case. When Jarvis Elamine called me and said, "I have someone who needs you and can't afford you," I took the case. When Davina Ward called me and said she needed me, I took the case. Over and over. I've been in East Tampa for the last 5 years. I haven't gone anywhere where no one was watching, and I wasn't a candidate. And it's because of that commitment and that through action, I show a true and genuine empathy. Candy Lowe is supporting me. Jarvis Elamine is supporting me. Mona Judge is supporting me. Tanya Lewis is supporting me. Davina Ward is supporting me. East Tampa community leaders have seen my sincere actions, and they are satisfied that I. Thank you. I humbly ask for your vote.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Wayne Bozich, and I'm here for 3 reasons. Number one, where I come from, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a small-town girl from West Virginia. My mom is a Korean immigrant. My father is a United States Air Force veteran. I grew up in a working-class family. I grew up, and I've said this before, so they know, I spent the majority of my childhood in a double-wide trailer. I put myself through college. I put myself through law school. I then practiced in Ohio for a number of years before I moved to Florida. I chose Hillsborough County to be my home. I choose to send my son here to public school, not private school. As it relates to my experience. You heard it before, Hillsborough County Court is the people's court. I bring that life experience with me from West Virginia and from Ohio. My experience in civil court right now in Tampa, we each have 14 county civil judges with 13,000 cases apiece. So let me say that again. 13,000 cases apiece. And the things that they handle are landlord-tenant, small breach of contract cases, writ of garnishment, repossession of automobiles, credit card cases, things of that nature. I am the only candidate up here who has handled all those different types of matters. I have more civil experience than the 3 colleagues I'm running against put together. And why is that important? Because with 13,000 cases on the docket, justice delayed is justice denied. And you cannot sit in court for 4 and 5 years waiting for a resolution so you can move on with your life. You heard the judge say, we make important decisions every day. And one of those decisions is how are we going to help you get a resolution to your case so you can move on? I have a case right now that we've been fighting over an easement for 8 years. 8 years. Nobody should have to spend 8 years in litigation. Lastly, rule of law. It is important that you have judges who follow the rule of law and apply it equally and fairly to everyone. I went to trial back in March. It was a 3-day trial, and I knew we lost the morning of the first day. I could tell by the things that the judge was saying that she started and with the resolution she wanted was going to backdoor in everything else. For me, so that was not fair to my clients.
Good evening. Let me first thank our hosts for having us here today, Beth Lewis and our hosts. It's an honor to be here before you. For those of you that I have not had the chance to meet or the pleasure of meeting, my name is Melissa Black. I'm running for County Court Judge Group 14. As you've heard already, County Court is the people's court. And for the past 16 years, I've been representing foster care children, victims of human trafficking, children with special needs, and our teens that are aging out of foster care. I have seen how the system can favor the fortunate and forget about the fragile. That is why I'm running. I represent real people with real issues, and I plan to bring that experience to the bench. I'm a Hillsborough County native, a wife, and a boy mom of 3. Prior to this campaign, if you on a daily basis saw what I was doing, I was in and have been in our courthouse 4 days a week. Usually 5, a minimum of 4, usually 5, and on the weekends. I've had the pleasure of being before more than half of our bench. We have over 60 judges. I've been before 37 of them. Practiced before 37 of them. Practiced before 5 of our 8 general magistrates. I've handled well over 2,500 cases. Been to trial hundreds of times. And I say this, the thing that I'm most proud of is that I have represented and assisted and been there for over 700 of the youth and foster care children in our system, with the majority of those cases being on a pro bono basis. I've had the pleasure and the privilege of having and assisting families in every corner of our community. I've been in this neighborhood. I've been down the street. I've been in homes. I've been in foster homes. I've even been visiting with families in their cars because that's all they have. My clients take 3 to 5 buses a day to get to the courthouse. I've seen that and I've fought for my clients. And when most attorneys go home for the day, you can find me in Walmart with a teen girl walking the aisles, buying undergarments, buying toiletries, buying snacks, because she's going to her 5th placement in the past 2 months. I love this community. I learned at an early age that giving back is the most fulfilling thing that I can do. Thank you. My name is Melissa Black, and I would love and be honored to get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you all candidates for being here tonight. I know it would have been great to be able to ask questions to all of them, but due to the rules that govern the judicial races, they're not allowed, they're limited to making a statement only, so there's no questions. So thank you all. Again, we appreciate you coming out. Thank you. We would like to acknowledge Ms. Damaris Allen. She is running for school board in District 2. She is over there. So if you'd like an opportunity to talk with her, she's back there in the corner waving her hands. Also, we also would like to acknowledge any elected officials in here tonight. If you are an elected official, please stand and wave so that we can see you. Wonderful, thank you. All right. The House Representative for District 62.
Get those candidates going on up, and also the panelists. I've got a couple of housekeeping items. Get our panelists over here, and we'll have our candidates for election. A couple of housekeeping items. I've been given orders and instructions that I need to announce that one of the candidates that could not be here, Derek Smith, he had a mandatory obligation at work and couldn't be here. Now listen, here's why I resisted saying something. This community vote has been disrespected for decades by folks not showing up and not doing what they need to do when they get in office. So I'm real reluctant to even say your name if you don't show up. So I want to commend all the candidates that showed up tonight. But I've been ordered by people higher up than me that I need to acknowledge that. So I did.
Time.
Go and get our panelists in place and our questioners go and get in place real quick. And let's see, we have as our candidates, we have for House Representative District 62, we've got Wingate Newton. Let's give a wave to the folks. We also have Jesse Felipe. Go and give the folks a wave, Jesse. And Michelle K. Raymond. Our panelists I have from Zany Mount from Phi Beta Sigma Tampa Metro Chapter, Stacy Francis from the Beta Kappa Sigma Chapter, Sigma Gamma Rho. And also we have here listed Sonia Little from the where's Al Sharif at? Where's Al Sharif? Come on, Al Sharif. We have you down as a panelist. Come on out. Please give this a mega round of applause. You're welcome to the seats. All right. So y'all know the rules. We're gonna just go down the list here, asking questions. Let's find out what you can have a seat. All right. So we'll just start right here on the end. You have 1 minute to answer. Yellow means 15 seconds. Red means stop. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start off with Stacy Francis. Go ahead, Stacy.
Good evening, everyone. So this question that we have here tonight is, what are your plans to address the teachers and resources shortage with the approaching school year?
Good evening, everyone. My name is State Representative Michelle Rader. I'm so glad to be here. Also, shout out to my beautiful sorors, the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Capital Up for the Divine Nine. So, how do we plan to deal with the teacher shortage, and really the funding shortage? I will tell you this. I never once, since I have been in the House, have voted to defund public school education. I have never once voted to defund public school education. And so what we have is we have a legislature that is hell-bent
on defunding our public school education. I understand that there's a conversation about choice, but when you do it at the risk of our children, 90% of our children who go to public school, there's a problem. Because of that, I've been endorsed by the teachers union. I've been endorsed by the teachers union here in Hillsborough County and in Pinellas County and the state teacher union. And so what I'm doing is making sure when we have bills, I'm adding amendments to try to protect our teachers and try to protect our students and making sure they have what they need. And I can also say I am the only candidate up here. Okay, I'm gonna move over here.
Thank you. How you guys doing? My name is Jesse Philippe. I'm gonna do a quick background because I have one more boss, so I'm gonna try to know me. So, I'm a United States Marine. I served in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I came back, and then I came back. I went, got my education, went to Western Michigan. I got my degree. I'm an attorney. I practice in insurance litigation law. So, to answer the question is, what do we do for our teachers? We have to. It's a simple question. You don't have to compensate a lot. It's one simple solution. Fund our education system. We have to fight and fund. And we can't make excuses and say, well, the governor's in charge, so guess what, we can't do anything. No, we can do something. We can sit there, just like Black Lives Matter, we sit there and we walk. We need to start walking for our children now. That is the new fight. And we're going to continue that fight. So what we do, we sit together, we fight together, we demand the state to provide funding for our schools and our children. Thank you, guys.
Let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable to my sight, my strength, O Lord, my Redeemer. Good evening. Good evening. I want to announce my wife first. Stand up, baby. Next month we can celebrate 32 years of Black love. We can give it up for that. Stand up, baby. You want to join Chelsea? It's important. All we know is, I'm state representative running with a brand new House District 62. There's no incumbents in this race. Brand new. What I've done was, in the legislature, because we cannot get involved with collective bargaining agreements, which is what pays teachers, what I've done was we raised the floor. We raised the floor with $500 million for teacher pay. And we made it where starting teachers in Florida will make $47,500. I voted for that, but not just for the teachers. I brought back $300 million for support staff. But you know what happened? When the money got back to the local districts, the school boards, the support staff, the teachers, the DAs, the bus drivers did not get it because they could not bargain at the bargaining table.
All right, let's move to the next question.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, candidates. My name is Zane Mount. I am the president of the Sigma chapter, the Hillsborough County chapter, Tampa Metro Sigmas, Phi Beta Sigma Incorporated. My question to you all, to each one, what is the most pressing issue facing the constituency of District 62, and how will you work to address that issue?
All right, this is a very simple answer. This district has been redistricted, and I'm not going to go into all that, but it's political. So we have this district in 2 different counties. And both counties have 2 different issues. Part of the district in South Hillsborough is infrastructure. I don't know anyone who's been to South Hillsborough, Big Bend Road, but you've seen the potholes, you've seen the traffic, you see that's an issue. In this area, it's a different issue. We see the economic disparity within South Tampa, where you have amateurs and all those areas being built up, but over here it's not being built up. All these things are different issues, and we need to stop trying to find one canvas solution and start going to communities and say what we can do different. For me as a candidate, that's going to be the first thing I do, is to understand the difference in this community. I went to King High School, I played football. So I'm from East Tampa, so I'm sorry for everyone to me. When I come over here, the issues are completely different. And for me as a representative, what I'm going to be doing is focus on talking and communicating with you guys to figure out what your needs are. And so that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you. I also want to thank the Divine Nine. It was my pleasure to fight for and get past auto tags for the Divine Nine. I did that when I was in Tallahassee, and we'll continue to fight and advocate for our organization, that they're our backbones. What my number one pressure issue is our youth. Last year we arrested 45,366 5 to 17-year-olds in the state of Florida. Also, 65% of those were black boys and girls. Permanent juvenile record, which means no student aid, no military, and no job. In Florida right now, 25% of the children in Florida are reading proficiently, and only 53% pass the state reading test. That means 47% of these kids cannot read. From first to third, or 0 to third, you're learning to read. From third up, you're reading to learn. That's how they fall behind. I brought money back, millions for hippie, early learning programs in our youth, and I'll continue to bring money home for those programs for our children.
So there are a lot of issues that are facing District 62, and I feel like I could sit down and talk to you about it. And it's interesting that we're talking about our youth, but I'm the only candidate who's been in the legislature that has not voted against defunding our youth and defunding education. So we have an education problem when it comes to black and brown students and when it comes to equity. We have a food desert problem. I actually passed a bill and got it signed into law by the same governor that I have stood up to while I've been in the legislature. Under 2 years, got that bill passed, dealing with food deserts issues. That's an issue here in District 62. Another issue is workforce development. Making sure that when people want to go and have a new career, that they're getting paid as an apprentice, that they don't have to lose money, but they're able to make money while they're learning a new trade. I've gotten that bill passed into law while standing up to Governor DeSantis, and we need more of that in this district. It is not a one-size-fits-all. I have done the work in under 2 years, and I will continue to do it again.
Okay, before we move to the next question, real quick commercial. One, the straw poll is still going. So if you have not voted, please go to the back and vote and let these candidates know how you feel about them. Also, real quick, we still have our questions being collected. Where's our Attorney Charles Howard at? Working hard for the man. Listen, everybody, if you got a question, Charles is the guy you need to give your question to. And I know we had some of the more questions in some of the panels earlier. We've committed to getting those questions to the candidates and getting you written responses through the NAACP. So don't feel like your questions won't eventually be addressed. All right, back to the regular programming now. And let's move on to our next question that will be brought to us by Ms. Sonia Little.
Hello, community. Hello, candidates. I'm Sonia Little. The Supreme Court has reversed Roe v. Wade, and Florida is at the forefront in restricting protection for a right to choose. I think it's critical for elected officials to represent the values of the people they serve. So what is your stance on reproductive rights, and how will you advocate for them?
A man can't make a baby, so he has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. Her body, her choice. I always voted that way in the legislature, and I'll continue to do that. I am the only candidate born and raised in this district, the only lifelong Democrat. I'm a Democrat 100, never flip, never change. I will continue to fight and bring back home resources for this district. It's not new to me. I have 8 years on the St. Petersburg City Council and 4 years in the legislature. Only 2 things divide us up there in Tallahassee: abortions and guns. And I've been on the no side of all of those for the longest. But it's important that we form a relationship like I've done to bring home millions every year. We have 78 Republicans, 42 Democrats. You've got to be able to work across the aisle to bring home much needed resources for this district. I did it for Manatee, Sarasota, and Pinellas. I will do it for Hillsborough, and I will do it for Pinellas again if you send me back to Tallahassee. Thank you.
So I believe in a woman's right to choose, period, point blank. But I want to talk about, when we're talking about building relationships, I have to say this because I believe in dealing in truth while we're in the room, especially when it comes to the people. I'm the only candidate up here that has not been bought and sold by a Republican. You can look at my report and you can see what's on there. So when we talk about a woman's right to choose and who funds us, and when you get funded by certain folks, you are asked to vote a certain way. My vote and the people of District 62 in the state of Florida are not for sale. So that's number one. Number two, because it was said, I have not been a lifelong Democrat. I was a Republican for under 6 months.
When I lived in Duval County, we were trying to get Angela Corey, the same Angela Corey who lost the Trayvon Martin case, the same Angela Corey that sent black and brown kids to prison at a high rate. There were thousands of us that changed our voter registration to Republican, to elect a more moderate Republican. So if we don't talk about the truth, let's talk about it.
All right, so this whole back and forth, we gotta get from here. But I'm gonna tell you the most important thing for women who are reproductive right is to go out and vote. All right? Because all this stuff they talking about, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're in a minority. They know that. We need to start changing the demographics of the state. We need to start getting out there, telling people what Tallahassee is doing. Because a lot of people, the traditional voter, don't know what Tallahassee is doing. They don't know their rights were taken away this past legislature. They don't know that. So what we need to do is communicate. Tell them, hey, that's what's happening. This is what's happening. This is how this is affecting your mom. How this is affecting your sister, your auntie. When we start having those conversations, then guess what? We will vote these people out, and we will get Roe v. Wade statute codified. I mean, I'm not excited, but I am.
Okay, and for our next person, House Reed.
Good evening. My name is Al Shreve. I'm Boston's Iowa chapter. I'm on the 2024 Grand Conclave. Very clear and specific question from you folks sitting up here. During your respective time in the legislature, how much dollars did you bring back to your district?
I personally brought back $1.5 million, but I also passed legislation as far as that created immediate jobs and that dealt with the food desert issue. And a part of a bigger delegation, we were able to bring back $100 million that got divided throughout Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Manatee, and Sarasota County, dealing with the Piney Point issue.
All right, so I'm not elected, so I can't really answer that question. So what I'm going to do is tell you my private sector experience. I worked at Verizon, where I brought in $3 million in the Verizon corporate office. Also, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was charging multi-million-dollar budgets and supply chains in the Fort Lauderdale Amphibian unit. So for me, I brought in millions of dollars working in the private sector. I brought $1 million working in the government sector. So for me, that's all we continue to bring, is bring resources to District 62. Thank you, guys. Oh man, where do I start? I won't be saying we, because I'm not afraid. When you people start saying we brought back and we did this, that means they didn't do anything. I filed and brought back legislation appropriations. We had 3% pay raises for all the state employees, $500 million for teacher pay, $3.9 million every year for HIPPY. 1.25 of that goes to the Hillsborough County Children's Board. And what HIPPY is home instruction for parents of preschool youth. They come in the home for 30 weeks to bring books, shape, fonts, and colors, and help you become the first teacher. All they ask is you cut that idiot box off and read to your baby. Because if you don't, somebody else will, and it'll go something like this. You have the right to remain silent. Ain't paying yourself in, and we'll be using this shit. I brought home money, I built relationships, have great working relationships. I can't wait to get back there to bring home more money. It's about the money. Black people need resources. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back in reverse order. Start with Mr. House Reed.
So I guess the next question would be, what bill did you pass, not co-sponsor, directly while you were in the So for me, I can just talk about what I've done. For me, at St. Petersburg College, I created a home inspection program. The first one in St. Petersburg College, essentially what happens, when I got in the military, I find a hard time for me to transition out. And so a lot of military people, when they get out, the transition is very tough. So a lot of the people you see that are homeless are prior military. So for me, one of the things that I did was, when I was at St. Pete College, I created a plan so that they essentially have housing and clothing, and also a program also where they can help find a curriculum that best match their skill set after leaving the military. And so that's one of the plans I worked with. I also worked with the Running Without Bounds. As a volunteer, I'm working with Metropolitan Ministry, giving and helping that organization. I worked with several different organizations throughout the county. But the one thing that I hold true in my principle is to always make sure we're pushing forward. We can keep talking about what we did in the past. We can keep reveling in that. But what are we doing pushing our state forward? Right now, our state is not pushing forward. It's going backwards. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you. Thank you. And to go on to the website, with anything factual to withstand scrutiny. We get 7 bills to file. Your bills are your values. Your bills are your values, your bills are your values. You should go read what bills these people follow to see how they affect you and what's happening in your community. The first one was it was a tri-part real estate bill. It was authorizing the board to adopt enforcement of certain rules and regulations in their governing district, like neighborhood associations. It's a hell from being a neighborhood president. And that bill was signed into law, not filed, signed into law by way they do. The next one was public nuisance. What that was, there was a lot of people having parties in these vacant shopping centers, and the police couldn't do anything about it. But that gave them another tool to be able to take that nuisance down, sign into law. The last one was it was a special neighborhood district improvement district again. That was 2020, signed into law. Relationships matter. I'm a Democrat sitting on the back row with a majority Republican House.
So in being in the State House for about maybe not even quite 2 years, and also being a fierce critic of Ron DeSantis, I've gotten bills passed and signed into law with my name on it. And the first bill was the urban agriculture bill. That this is a bill that actually directly impacts urban areas, that allows for a shrinkage of food deserts. So you can build a community garden or micro agriculture. That was signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis. And yes, I have been called his worst nightmare. So, I mean, I have relationships as well. So, also, the next bill was the PCA bill. This is a bill that if you would like to become a CNA, instead of having to stop work, you are able to become an apprentice. And the beautiful thing about that is that you're able to get paid as you're learning a new skill, so you don't have to stop feeding your family and taking care of your family. That was a bill that I got signed and passed into law, and I've only been in the legislature for about 1.5 years.
Florida, especially the Tampa Bay area, is experiencing a housing crisis, and I don't think that's news to anyone who can cut the news on nationally and hear about it. We have an escalation in the price of homes for first-time buyers, as well as monthly payments for renters, and it's causing a housing shortage and, in some cases, homelessness. What do you see as a solution that you can propose that would help individuals, our brothers and sisters, facing this housing crisis?
I'm the only representative when they went to read the Sadowski Housing Trust Fund. The Sadowski Housing Trust Fund is a fund that takes dock stamps when you purchase a house of your time of transition. I know there's work for the person who's retired.
We have locked up the main office and
Keep going. Keep going. We're gonna give it back to them.
Okay, back.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was the only candidate when they went to raise the Sadowski Housing Trust Fund that voted no. In 2020, we brought back $380 million for affordable housing from the Sadowski Housing Trust Fund, unrated. The only candidate. I said no, I pushed the button. Also, I support affordable home ownership, equity, and generational wealth. Right? People don't get hooked on that affordable stuff, that affordable work. Because if I got $10 million, a condo downtown is affordable. Okay? I support a company called Divvy. Divvy requires you to have a 550 credit score, $2,500 of income coming into your home, and go through a background check and have a state ID. They have pre-approved you. You go out and buy a house of your dream. You pick the house you want out.
All right, so many of y'all know I'm an attorney, so I like to make sure the record is very clear. So one, I did not vote to raise the Sadowski Fund. I believe that we have to make sure that we protect the Sadowski Fund. That is the fund that we have that makes sure that folks have access to affordable and attainable housing. I've also filed a bill that was a bipartisan bill, and hopefully when I go back next year that we will be able to hear this bill. This is a bill that would actually allow local governments, county commissions, city councils to actually waive fees associated with building affordable housing development. And that is a bill that I was able to work across the aisle with Republicans and Democrats and even folks from the building sector. So we have to get creative when we're thinking about affordable housing because we're in a crisis. Also, when we're talking about rents, we need to have real conversations. And I know that that's been happening here in Tampa and it's going to be happening in St. Pete. But when we're talking about rent control and how can we make sure that the landlords are home but people have a safe place to live, they're not mutually exclusive.
Alright, so to answer this question, it's a very sincere question. Is how do we address this? It takes commitment. No one's house gets built in like 3 or 2 months. It's a year process. You have to get funding, you have to essentially get the contractors in to build these housing for people. So you need your leadership to be there for a long period of time to see it through. Both these candidates, and I say both of them, have never committed to their seat for them more than 6 months, 3 or 4 years, and they're off to the next seat. That is not how you get things done. You get elected, you see through what your vision is, and that's how you do it. But if you're out there saying that we're going to do this, and 3 months later you're gone, what's that saying? It's about your character, about what you're going to do. It doesn't say much, does it?
All right, real quick, as we move to the last 2 questions, I want to announce that the straw poll is closed. We'll be announcing those results at the end of this panel discussion. All right, next question up by Zayman.
Do you have a plan to increase job opportunities for the people of your district if elected?
I do have a plan because I've already done it. Obviously, you heard me mention the PCA bill. And so what we need to do is make sure that we have more programs and workforce development opportunities that actually allow people to be able to work through apprenticeship opportunities. Also, I'm a big believer in trade schools and investing in vocational schools and trade schools. I have a nephew who is the heart and the mood of my life. And he is not an academia person. He will tell you very quickly, but he's so good and talented with his hands. And so what we did was make sure he had the opportunity to go to a vocational school, and he is doing very well. And so we need to make sure that our kids are aware of all the opportunities that they have. And that's the work that I've been doing in the state legislature. That's the work that I've been able to get passed. That's the work that's actually happening right now, have immediate job access and immediate impact in our district, and that's what we need to continue doing.
For me, it's working with businesses and bringing businesses to these minority areas. That's a simple question. Every government official is going to tell you, I brought more jobs and I brought this because I passed the bill. That's not true. Businesses bring jobs. We need to start partnering with these businesses to come into these minority communities and start hiring for minorities. And there's two ways we do that too. We have to start investing in our tech programs. Tampa Bay Tech High School is one of them that was out there bringing jobs when people didn't have to go to college. We have to increase that funding to all schools throughout Hillsborough County. Once we do that, we'll get students in the pipeline to get the jobs that businesses need. And once we get the business in the community, the children have the skills, guess what? More jobs. It's not rocket science.
People, let's be clear. It's about having a relationship, workable relationships. The other side of the aisle put $800 million into the Florida Job Growth Fund. What the Florida Job Growth Fund does, it partners with Pinellas Technical College, it partners with Manatee Technical College, it partners with St. Pete College. They got over $200 million in Lockheed Martin to create jobs paying $100,000 or more. That money's in the budget. I got a relationship, I can point that to whatever vocational area that's needed. I myself was a graduate at ITT. 2-year AS degree, 18-year career in corporate America is with Xerox, where I met my beautiful wife. But I'm just telling you, you need to be able to have training and opportunities for these kids. Also, dual enrollment. We got 3 schools in Pinellas County that has dual enrollment. The kid can get an AA degree while he's getting high school diploma. And they can also learn vocational trades funded by this program. So I like to go back up there with those resources and those relationships and put more money back in this community.
Okay, and now to our last question, Stacey Francis.
So my questions are like in a healthcare crisis right now. So our question is, what are your plans on leveraging your position on the Health and Human Services Committee to increase access to affordable, quality, and timely health services for minorities, industries, and
We have to find a way to do Medicaid expansion. Now, here's the thing. Healthcare is very tricky because there's a lot of people in healthcare who don't want to change. And let's be honest, you guys know that. Obamacare, which our president fought for hard, it got whittled down to almost nothing. It is hard to get it passed. But there is solutions that you can replace. We have a lot of private companies like Amazon who create more and more healthcare facilities within their employment. What we can do is give more corporations the funding, because you know the public's going to vote for corporations. But if we get them the funding for these businesses to start creating more clinics in their communities, in these companies, in these businesses, that is the way we can circumvent the legislature from passing the bill. We can essentially build clinics in our local schools, we can build clinics in our local companies. And that's, for me, that's the way we address this. If we talk about
Thank you for the question. Good question. The majority up there, which is 78 Republicans and 42 Democrats in the House, does not have the, they don't want to expand Medicaid. Let's get it clear. So that's not going to happen. We don't have the votes. It's not going to happen. You have the votes in the Senate and the House. It's 24 to 16 in the Senate. It's 78 to 42 in the House. When I was there, it was 74 to 16, well, it's to 47, 46, but what's going to have to happen is do it in small increments. The legislature lately has been more amenable to funding prenatal programs to help pregnant women and have some opportunities. So you can do little streets and bounds. They'll do that, and they'll hang their hat on that banner without saying we expanded Medicaid. It's like getting them to raise taxes. You have to know how to work with them. In my 4 years in the legislature, I built those working relationships. I know how to go to the policy suite. I know how to go to the Senate President's office and the Speaker's office to get things done.
So I actually sit on the Health and Human Services Committee, and I sit on another committee as well. And I was actually part of the group of Black women that led the Black maternal health role within the state legislature. Also, while I was in the legislature working with the Speaker, who I worked with when I was a public defender and he was a state attorney, we were able to expand Medicare for mothers after they've had their child, so up to a year after they have their child. And while that's important, it's because usually the Medicare would stop. Once you have the baby, you're like, well, we're done. But we were able to expand that. And so to that point, it is about working with folks, but it is also about talking to people about where their pain point is, where their pressure point is. And when we begin to talk about, well, this is what's happening in your community and this is what's happening in my community, that's where you see the goodness. That's where you see the secret sauce starts to happen. And that's how I was able to pass bills, and that's how I was able to work on some of those maternal health issues with the legislature.
All right, let's give the fellas and the fellas a round of applause. And now we get 30-second closing statements.
Sell it to me. Sell it to me.
All right, here we go.
Sell it. I'm ready.
What makes me different from my other opponents? It's very simple. I don't believe in excuses. I was in the United States Marine Corps. They teach you, get the job done. People's lives haven't changed. It's been 20 years, 30 years, the same broken promises. I'm about getting the job done. I'm not going to tell you that I can't do this, or I got to pass this bill, or I got to go talk to this Republican behind the door somewhere, and then maybe I can get it done. No, I'm going to go to a business like, hey, we need jobs in this community. Let's get the jobs here. I'm going to go to that teacher like, hey, this kid is failing. What are we doing? This is what we need. So, 25 million to complete the Fairview Care Center, 35 million reoccurring in the baseline budget for Cookman, Devil Waters, and Florida Memorial. That's what we did. I'm going to continue to do that if you send me back. Have those relationships. I'm not going to be adversarial. If I punch one of y'all in the face, it's going to be hard trying to get my butt beat to get you over $20. It's about bringing home the bacon. I've done it. You send me back, I will do it again. I need your vote. I need your help. New for House 662. Thank you.
So I have been a civil rights attorney. I've worked with Ben Crump. I've actually been the local counsel for the NAACP. And when I decided to run for the state house, it's because the people have been underserved in our community. And so what I've been able to do, I've been able to do that work and make sure that folks are able to have what they need to live equitable lives. I've been endorsed by Senator Arthenia Joyner, State Representative Diane Hart, State Representative Venture Driscoll, who's the first Black woman leader. I've been endorsed by the entire Democratic Legislative Caucus. So I'm asking for your vote on or before August 23rd.
All right, let's give our panelists a round of applause as well as you guys can throw. All right, so we can use the down. Just hang there, just a little bit longer. We have, Yvette, do we have the results of the straw poll? Are we ready? Yeah, come on, ready. Oh, wait, we're done. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go and myself and Angela can go ahead and give us our closing comments, and then we'll hand it over to Yvette to bring the show to an end, okay? Oh, real quick, everybody who's got a phone like your church, get phone out. We need you all to go and like the NAACP page, NAACP Hillsborough. Pull out your phone, just like you do in church with the pastor. Y'all put your phones in church. Put your phones out and like the NAACP page, please. Also, next week on the 8th, there's another panel with statewide races, governor, attorney general, and all the other folks. That's going to be hosted by real person, Sean Shaw, the chair that we've been co-hosting it. So make sure you tune into that. All right. So real quick, Angelique, your closing comments.
Did you all learn some things tonight? Yeah. Do you feel like you are armed with the information that you need to get out and do your voting? So let's give all of the candidates and all the panelists another round of applause. They showed up. They showed up. And like Philip said, for those, everyone was invited, but not everyone showed up tonight. And let's give yourselves a round of applause because you came out to listen to what they had to say. And now you can go back out to your community and talk about what you heard tonight. So we want to thank you. We appreciate your participation. And I think we just have what the next we have one more announcement.
Real quick, let me just say this. So, I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers who were able to keep you all safe from being attacked by a bat in the auditorium and relocate us over here to a successful program. It really happened in the school. I want to thank everybody, Charles Harlequin and all the other volunteers. You really did a great job. My timekeepers over there. And to all the organizations, listen. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Delta Sigma Theta, Theta Kappa, Heritage number 23, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Kappa Phi Omega, Middleton Senior High School, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, Dog Leagues, the Urban League of Hillsborough County, and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We want to thank all of them for all the support that they gave, and Yvette is going to come up as soon as we have the results
of the straw poll so you can know how these candidates did. So thank you all very much. And also, take a minute to get to know these candidates. Do not wander out of here without getting this last bit of information that is available to you.
One more time about the NAACP Hillsborough. When you go on Facebook, it is Hillsborough without the O. So it's HILLSBRGH no O in Hillsborough. Alright, so we want to make sure you go to the right one so that you can like and follow to be able to get more information. Alright, thank you so much.
Come on with the straw poll now. You got to go. With the straw, let loose. Let's straw poll now. Yeah, did you get all that on tape? You got the whole thing? Man, no, what's the stop code? You gotta believe it.
Can I get some, oh, it's so cute over there. Look at those Deltas. Alright, so I have the results for the straw poll. Alright, everybody quiet, please. Quiet, please! U.S. Senate, Val Demings, 81%. Okay. Val Demings. Okay. U.S. Congress, District 14, Kathy Castor, 74%.
All right. Need a drum roll?
Yeah. U.S. Congress, District 15, Eddie Geller. Eddie Geller.
Republican, come on.
U.S. Senate,
Congress, District 61, Vern Buchanan. Governor's race, Charlie Crist, 51%. All right. Attorney General, Aramis Ayala, 78%. Commissioner of Agriculture, Naomi Esther, 51%. State Senator, District 20, Jim Boyd. State Representative, District 62. Y'all ready for this one? Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna tell y'all it's an upset. You ready? Y'all ready for this one? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we're ready. Come on, ready. Go ahead. You ready, y'all? Yeah. Y'all listen to this. All right. You ready to go? All right. Michelle Rayner, 50%. Wingate Newton, 39%. Jesse, 10%. Okay, State Representative 65, Karen Pittman, 45%. District 68, Lawrence McClure, 65%. State Representative District 69, Denny Alvarez, 61%. Wow. Board of County Commission, District 4, Michael Owen, 61%. Board of County Commissioner, District 7, Chase Harrison, 51%. Chase, you better keep running because Joshua is 48% right on your heels. Okay, County Judge, Group 6, Wesley Tibble, 74%. I'm not even sure somebody else was in that race. County Judge, District, Group 37, Nancy Jacobs, 59%. Nancy don't celebrate because for a judge that wasn't here, he on your heels.
What she want? She wants.
Okay. County Judge, Group 14, Star Brookins, 57%. Melissa Blight, 29%. Michael Isaac, 9%. Alicia Bosick, 3%. School Board, District 2, Damaris Allen, 66%. School Board, District 4, Hunter Gamble, 36%. School Board, District 6, Karen Perez, 72%. Alright, and for the referendum, For the school board referendum, the answer is yes on 64. And I just want to thank everybody for coming on. I appreciate everything. Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and looking at and watching and educating themselves on the community political forum. It's a wonderful partnership that we had to do a little improvise there, but we did come out standing strong. And so I just want everyone to know that this is power. Our vote is our choice. This is power. Today, a black vote was suppressed. This is power. We are here to educate and continue to grow the community and make sure that they're knowledgeable of what's going on and how and who to vote for and what the issues are. This is power today. We had over 25 black organizations working together and coming together for the greater good of Hillsborough County. Thank you for all. I ask everyone to stay tuned because next week we're going to do it again Facebook Live. We'll have our federal seat, and we'll have our governor seat, and we'll have our state senate seat, and we're going to have all of them. So thank you. This is Yvette Lewis signing off. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful night.